School of Humanities and Social Sciences in association with the Press Club of India and Foreign Correspondence Club of South Asia. Philip L. Graham, a former publisher at the Washington Post, once said that the press is the first rough draft of history. This quote speaks to the integral role that media plays in shaping our collective understanding of society, democracy, and public sphere. Manthan, as the name suggests, stands out for churning, and that's precisely our aim for the next 2 days, to churn out thought-provoking ideas, discussions, and reflections on the transformation of media and communication in this rapidly evolving world. To officially start off this occasion, kindly request our esteemed Vice Chancellor, Professor V.N. Rajashekaran Pillai, along with Professor Nandakumar Gilke, Registrar, Professor G.N. Devi, Dean of School of Humanities and Social Sciences, Mr. T.P. Srinivasan, Adjunct Professor of Eminence and Mentor at K.J. Somaiya Institute of Management, and our distinguished guests, Professor B.K. Ravi, Professor and Vice Chancellor of Kopal University, Mr. Anil Sharma, Film Director, and our respected faculty members to please come forward and light the lamp. Thank you so much. Before we begin, and as per Somaiya tradition, I request everyone to please rise for the campus prayer.
ईशावास्यमिदं सर्वं यत्किञ्चिज्जगत्यां जगत् तेन त्यक्तेन भुञ्जीथा मा गृधस्तस्य स्विद्धनम् मूकं करोति वाचालं पङ्गुं लङ्घयते गिरिम् यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे परमानन्दमाधवम् ॐ प्रणो देवी सरस्वती वाजेभिर्वाजिनीवती वीणा भवतु। ॐ चोदयित्री सूनृतानां चेतन्ती सुमतीनां यज्ञं ददे सरस्वती। ॐ असतो मा सत्समय तमसो मा ज्योतिर्गमय मृत्योर्मा अमृतं गमय। ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनस्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। सर्वेऽत्र सुखिनः सन्तु सर्वे सन्तु निरामयाः सर्वे भद्राणि पश्यन्तु मा कश्चित् दुःखमाप्नुयात्। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्ति।
What a beautiful way to start our event. Now, I am honored to invite our Vice Chancellor, Professor V.N. Rajashekharan Pillai, to share a few words with us.
I never thought that I have to begin. Thank you. Why don't you come to the front? These seats are vacant. Please come. Those who are sitting in the come to the please occupy the vacant seats. Good morning and welcome to the chief guest and all the dignitaries on the dais. First of all, let me congratulate the School of Department of Media and Department of Mass Media, School of Humanities and Social Sciences for organizing an event of this kind. I know this department has been very active in this university, and it is very important that they organize an event of this kind, which is going to be benefited by the students, researchers, and the media personnel in this region and around. I also take this opportunity to welcome Mr. Anil Sharma, Professor Ravi, who is the chief guest, the Vice Chancellor of Koppal University in Karnataka, my colleagues, Professor D.N. Devi and Ambassador Professor T.P. Srinivasan for the inaugural session. I don't want to make a speech on this occasion. I know the importance of the media, democracy, and public space and its evolution and impact in the society. The relationship between media, democracy, and public space is complex and multifaceted, evolving continuously with technological advancement and social challenges. Media serves as a crucial element of democracy, providing citizens with the information necessary to make informed decisions. It also helps to hold power to account and participate in public discourse. It is important to explore how media shapes democracy and public space, the challenges faced, and the opportunities for enhancing democratic engagement and public participation. I see a number of presentations and lectures related to these topics in the next two days. There is no doubt we have been telling that the media is the most important pillar of democracy. At its core, the media's role in democracy is to inform the public, inform correctly about the public, about political, social, and economic issues. Through newspapers, television, radio, and digital platforms, citizens receive news and analysis that help them understand the actions of their government and the implications on their lives. We all know that media acts as a watchdog over those in power, exposing corruption, malpractice, and inefficiency. Investigative journalism plays a critical role in ensuring transparency and accountability, thereby strengthening democratic institutions. Media provides a space for the exchange of ideas and opinions. It facilitates dialogue between citizens and their representatives. Public debates, opinion pieces, and letters to the media are traditional forms of this interaction. Nowadays, you see different forms of all these things emerging. Public space, both physical and virtual, is essential for democracy. It is where citizens gather to express their views, organize, and engage with one another and the government. Media influences public space in several ways. It enhances it expands the access. Digital media has significantly expanded public space, enabling more voices to be heard. Social media platforms, blogs, and online forums democratize across society access to information and participation. This allows marginalized groups to articulate their concerns and mobilize for change. Media contributes to the diversity of opinions in public space. Through various formats and content, media presents a range of perspectives, fostering a more inclusive and representative democratic dialogue. Modern media connects citizens across borders, creating global public space. This interconnectedness facilitates the spread of democratic ideals and practices, as well as the organization of transnational governments advocating for human rights, environmental protection, and social justice. There are several challenges. When we see all these possibilities, there are several challenges too. Disinformation and misinformation is a really grave challenge which we are all facing. The proliferation of fake news and misinformation threatens the integrity of public discourse and democratic decision making. Social media algorithms often amplify sensational and misleading content, challenging citizens' ability to distinguish fact and fiction. Ordinary people even now believe that it has come in the newspaper and therefore it should be right. That is not the fact. We all know that. Media ownership and bias is another big challenge we are facing. Concentrated media ownership and political bias can undermine the media's role as a neutral and independent source of information. Corporate interests and editorial biases may influence news coverage, skewing public perception and democratic process. Despite the potential of digital media to democratize public space, unequal access to technology and the internet creates a digital divide. This disparity limits some citizens' ability to participate fully in digital public spaces and benefit from the opportunities they offer. Enhancing the media literacy, that is probably the duty of many of the higher education institutions, can empower citizens to critically analyze and engage with media content. Education initiatives can help individuals with the skills to discern credible information and navigate the complexities of digital public spaces. Establishing robust regulatory frameworks that promote media pluralism, transparency, and accountability can help mitigate the challenges posed by disinformation and concentrated ownership. Innovative media formats are developing day by day. The development of innovative media formats such as interactive journalism and participatory platforms can enhance citizen engagement and democratize the production and dissemination of information. Overall, the interplay between media, democracy, and public sphere, which is the theme of this conference, is a dynamic and transformative field. While challenges persist, there are significant opportunities to harness the power of media to strengthen democracy and broaden public participation. By addressing the issues of misinformation, bias, and access, and by embracing new technologies in a contextualized way, society can foster a more informed, engaged, and inclusive democratic culture. The future of media, democracy, and public space lies in striking a balance amongst innovation and integrity, ensuring that media continues to serve as a vital pillar for democratic societies. I am glad that the students, teachers, and researchers of the School of Mass Communication of the university has taken up this initiative, and for the next 2 days they have identified very eminent speakers, and I want the students and teachers to assimilate some of this content of the seminar and then put into practice in their education as well as in practice. I wish the conference all success. Once again, I welcome all of you to the media. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for those inspiring words. Now, I request Professor G.N. Devi, Dean of School of Humanities and Social Sciences, to share his thoughts with us.
Honorable Professor Pillai, Vice Chancellor of the University, our colleague here, Ambassador Srinivasanji, our honor guests, Vice Chancellor Professor Ravi and Anilji, all my colleagues in the Faculty of Humanities and Social Sciences, colleagues in other faculties, students of Mass Media and Communication Department, students coming from other departments. As Dean of this faculty, I would first like to congratulate all of you in being able to put together such an impressive conference on media and public space, democracy being at the center. We are in Bombay, and say the Asian College of Media in Chennai has one kind of role. We have another kind of role. This is Bombay being the financial capital of the country. Media in Bombay is expected to give a little more to the nation than what media does from other places in India. But I want to say something more very briefly. Bombay is also in Maharashtra, and when one thinks of Maharashtra, one thinks of a tradition of saint poets. I mention this because the role of media as it evolved in the United Kingdom, Great Britain or England, whatever you call it, is of one kind. When as a student of literature, we all had to study how the public houses gave rise to little newspapers, and then in between France and England, newspapers came up. The role that media has played in the United States is of a different kind. The role that media has played, I forget about the normative part of it, what it is expected to do, but what it has actually done in India is somewhat like what the saint poets did during the medieval times, reform the society. They were activist activist thinkers, not only not only philosophical thinkers, whether it was Basava, Tukaram, Mira, or whatever. Similarly, from the middle of the 19th century till the middle of the 20th century, Indian media played an active role for gaining independence for this country. That part, sociological engagement of media, needs to be studied fully, and even post-independence, the role of media, particularly in Indian languages, not so much in English, but particularly in Indian languages, the role has been of a slightly different character than the role of media in the main Western countries. We need to look at that as well. We need to see how the universal norms of media and the local behavior of media come together to see where our truth lies. Professor Pillai has literally covered the entire areas very succinctly, very briefly, very brilliantly, all the themes that we'll be discussing, and I have nothing more to add to that. But as a researcher, I would like to request all of you, students particularly, and those who are going to present papers, to come up with research that will tell us who exactly we are and in what kind of civilizational crisis we are caught at this moment. Whether it's coming from technology, from ecology, from ethics or post-truth that Professor Pillai mentioned, or financial crisis, or just the challenge of being the most populous country, growing fairly speedily very old, of old people, without going through the necessary phase of becoming rich as well along the journey. So I wish all of you a good luck. I hope the deliberations in the next 2 days will give rise to further deliberations which will continue in your minds individually and will result into the improvement not just of your careers, not just of media, but the crores of people who really have been hoping that media at least will stand with them. With that hope of you giving some relief to people who deserve that relief, I stop. Once again, congratulations and all very best for your deliberations. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I now request Mr. T.P. Srinivasan, Adjunct Professor of Eminence and Mentor at K.J. Somaiya Institute of Management, to share a few words with us.
Distinguished Vice Chancellor of Somaiya University, our distinguished guest, Vice Chancellor of Koppal University, we have a film personality, Mr. Sharma, and our own Dean, Dr. Devi. Distinguished participants, we say that human life is composed of accidents, some lucky accidents and some unlucky accidents. In some cases, the same event becomes lucky for some and unlucky for the others. So I am in that kind of a situation. I came to Mumbai without even being aware of this conference. And when Professor Rajshekharan Pillai invited me to participate in it, it was a lucky accident for me. But for you who have to listen to me, it is an unlucky accident. In fact, if we look at my life, it was full of accidents. After being in the Foreign Service for 37 years, that was my profession, to which I aspired. And then I did not know what was next, and I came back to India without even knowing what I shall be doing. then I suddenly became an accidental educationist because the government of Kerala decided that I should preside over, together with Dr. Rajasekharan Pillai in another part of the government, to deal with reform of education. And then, quite accidentally again, I was invited to produce a TV program on television, which I've done for the last 15 years. So everything is an accident, and that is why I'm here. The topic has been virtually covered by the Vice Chancellor and Professor Devi. But what can I bring to you as a former diplomat is what I was thinking as I was sitting there. In fact, the first observation I'd like to make is that there is a lot in common with journalism and diplomacy. I don't know whether you have ever studied it, but what do diplomats do and what do journalists do? The diplomats gather information, report to the government, and contribute to policy making. And that's exactly what journalists do. They gather information, report to the world, and contribute to policy making. But the similarities are more or less end there. There are several differences in the way we operate. First and foremost, what we write in terms of policy or in terms of recommendation is not seen by the world. The 37 years of my studies are all packed away or kept away in the archives of the Government of India. Most of you will not know what a particular diplomat has contributed because decisions are of the government. But the journalists, everything that is written is in the public space. And therefore, we often get the impression that it is the journalists who shape public opinion and even decision making. So this is the fundamental difference. But at the same time, we work in concert in many times. I've been in large missions of our government in Washington, Moscow, New York, etc., where there was an active journalistic cadre from India. And on the one hand, they were very helpful in many ways because they would talk to you, get you information from others. And at the same time, there was always a kind of competition, particularly before the advent of technology. Because everyone, both the journalists and the diplomats, were very keen to get the ears of the government as fast as possible. And therefore, the journalists were at an advantage because they could convey it publicly and create an atmosphere for policy making in the country. While we will have to verify what we are saying again and again and try and report our own assessment. Sometimes journalists are used by various community leaders, various people in authority for their own purposes. I'll give you an example, real example of what happened in Moscow once. In Moscow, as you know, everything is, all news is restricted, everything is censored. There are only two newspapers, one is called Pravda, which means truth, and the second newspaper is Vestia, which means news. So the joke in Moscow was there is no Pravda in Izvestia, there is no Izvestia in Pravda. There is no truth in news and there is no news in the truth. So what happened was suddenly we had a very leading Indian journalist in Moscow who published a story out of the blue that Leonid Brezhnev has taken leave of his responsibilities. This was a time in the Soviet Union, change of hands, so there's etc. secret operations. There were rumors that he was sick. There were rumors that there was going to be a Kremlin coup, all this. But an Indian journalist told the world that Brezhnev has already disappeared. And this created consternation all around the world. We ourselves went to him several times to ask, tell us where you got this news. Because nobody else is talking about it. Is Brezhnev alive? Is he still the president of the Soviet Union, etc.? Then it turned out that it was actually a faction in the Communist Party of the Soviet Union who used our journalist to spread this rumor and to create a sensation. And you can imagine how sensitive it is. At that time, Brezhnev was at the height of his power. And India was very close to the Soviet Union. Mrs. Gandhi and Brezhnev were great friends. And for an Indian journalist to report that there has been a change in the Kremlin was sensational. And it turned out to be false. So a journalist can do things which cannot be done by others because of that particular profession. I'll give you another example. I was High Commissioner in Fiji when there was a military coup, most unexpected, of course, coups are like that. And the government was upset, and the military government took over. And the first 3 days after the military coup, I had no communications with the government of India, because all our communications were cut. There was no internet those days, only a teleprinter and a telephone, all that we had. So those 3 days, I wanted to inform the government that this should be taken slightly with a pinch of salt, because the community is small there, the army is almost significant. So such a coup of that kind that we have in other nations. In fact, Fiji was at that time known to be the world as it should be. Total integration between Indians and Fijians. As you know, it was 50% Indians and 50% Fijians. So there was a delicate balance, and it was essential for us to see it that way rather than think in terms of a conventional military coup against a community. But I had no way of communicating this to the government of India. And the newspapers started writing that this is an anti-Indian move and India must protest, India must do various things. So the entire government of India's policy was dictated by the journalists. And I'm helplessly sitting in Suva, hearing that India has not only decided not to recognize the new government, and also to impose economic sanctions against Fiji. So this was an absolutely wrong decision to have taken. And if I had the chance to communicate what I wanted to do, was that this is just a minor issue. And we should continue the friendship with the Fijian people and the Indian people, and then try and make out a compromise. And I actually started meeting the Governor General, who was the only authority we recognized. And we were working on it when this story came out. And not only that, we even moved to expel Fiji from the Commonwealth. And Prime Minister Rajiv Gandhi personally intervened. All this because of the 3 days of lack of communication between us. And then, so you have a situation which was created, thrown onto my lap, without any inputs from the diplomatic representative in Fiji. This is incredible to think at this time. And then what happened? It took us 10 years to bring back democracy, because we had created so much of ill will between the communities. And the community leaders of both sides were coming to me and said, what you are doing is wrong. You need to have continued to bring about the communities together. And just because journalists have this kind of ability to influence public information on this, it took us 10 years to bring back Fiji, the relationship between Fiji and India to be normalized. I was, of course, expelled. I was given only 72 hours to leave the country. And I left after 48 hours saying that I need 24 hours to come back on a holiday. And believe it or not, 10 years later, they invited me back when the diplomacy was restored and things got back. And the point I was making is these are not stories. These are actual situations where the media plays a role because of its particular position and the accessibility, sometimes even contradicting logic and contradicting diplomatic practices. But at the same time, we know that many journalists in the world are much more influential than diplomats. A Christian Amanpour or a Farid Zakaria can create situations which no diplomats can create. And they also become sometimes negotiators, because journalists keep in touch with everyone, and when there are problems, it's often the journalists who step in where diplomats are not yet talking about the subject. So, journalists play a role as far as diplomacy is concerned. That's the point I'm trying to make, which may not be very well known in the circles of journalism. So it's important for students of journalism to understand that the journalists play a very responsible role in decision-making and policy-making. And I know several journalists, very prominent journalists in Delhi, who have access to powers to which we have no access as professionals. And therefore, many things sometimes are cooked up in journalistic and politicians' groups. And that, in a way, helps us because the politicians get the correct information if the journalists are not prejudiced. At the same time, creates a kind of conflict in the situation. So, journalism and diplomacy are very well connected. And at the same time, we need to see that each one has its own place in the formulation of policy making. So, when I say that as a diplomat, I've now turned into journalism, when I produce a television show every week on international relations, I try to bring into my analysis what I know of the facts. And therefore, we have this new genre of professors now, ambassador professors, who are able to share experiences with the students. And that is why I was asked by the Vice Chancellor to come here. Because in studies of international relations or politics, there's a lot that you can teach by using textbooks, but there is much more can be learned by practical experience. And this is very much true in diplomacy, very much true in journalism. So the point I was trying to make in this brief remarks is to show the role played by journalism in very many fields. It is not simply a matter of conveying information. And of course, the Vice Chancellor talked about the dangers of communications, lack of truth, and various things which have emerged. And also technology which has made printed media rather unimportant. Long before the printed media publishes something, we all already know from what is called the WhatsApp University. That's what we are all relying on. And so there is WhatsApp University, then you have the printed media, and then the gender diplomats studying and reporting to the government. So there is a rush of information all the time to the government, which complicates matters. And in this situation, unless everyone is responsible and honest and honorable, things can go bad. Because if you look at the internal political situation, you can see it all the time, but I'm not going into that. So responsibility of journalists go beyond the limited purpose of conveying information to the public. And with this multiplicity of media, there is a lot of competition, and the new stations or news stations which have emerged because of the internet, because of the availability of YouTube, the confusion increases even more. And once you create an impression, to correct it or to apologize or to change, that takes much longer, and sometimes nobody is bothered about it. They're only interested in the news in the first instance. So students of journalism, I think we need to inculcate in yourself this kind of responsibility. And to do that, you need to have an awareness of the role you can play. And that's why I gave you one or two of these examples of how journalists can play a big role, which is beyond the duty or responsibility that you see yourselves. So this is the connection that you need to see. And of course, integrity and honesty and non-corruption are all very essential in any walk of life. But journalism particularly, it is increasing because of the access to the media is much more. Because you yourself can put something on X and that goes around the world before even journalists know what is happening around them. So, and this additional fact that you have access to technology and access to information and access to people should be an aspect which I think students of journalism must remember. I'm sure all this will be discussed in detail. So I just wanted to, having been here by accident, I thought I would contribute this bit of information of the linkages between diplomacy and journalism. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. To continue our journey today, let us take a moment to understand the vision behind Media Manthan and the immense effort that has gone into bringing this event to life. It is my privilege to invite our head of the department and convener of this event, Ms. Richa Chaudhary, to share a few thoughts.
Yeah, thank you, Vedi. Good morning all, and it's an honor to welcome you all for Media Manthan. Thank you, Vice Chancellor Sir, Professor T.P. Srinivasan, Professor Ganesh Devi, our chief guest for today, Professor Ravi, and Mr. Anil Sharma, a famous film director. I think everybody knows him, so the name is only sufficient. So I'm just, no, I'm not taking too much of time, just telling you about the Media Manthan and about our department. So Media Manthan is our effort to bring together bright minds and industry leaders to explore these shifts and challenges. Over the next 2 days, we will engage in discussions about the changing role of media in democracy and its effects in the digital era. I'm grateful to our distinguished guests, participants, and students from the various institutions and the colleges who have participated in this 2 days conference. So the Department of Mass Communication, Somaiya School of Humanities and Social Sciences, Somaiya Vidya Vihar University, Mumbai, is one of the well-known departments in the field of media and communication. The department offers undergraduate, postgraduate, and PhD programs in mass communication, which felicitate students in gaining a thorough understanding of several forms of communication, including journalism, advertising, public relation, and digital media. Students are exposed to experiential learning, creative liberty, and critical thinking abilities required for professional growth in media industry. I hope that coming 2 days would be very, very fruitful to us. And as you have, we are hearing from all experienced people, so make the maximum opportunity for these 2 days and learn a lot from everybody who is coming for panel discussion, for expert talk. So thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much for coming. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. It is now my privilege to call upon and give introductions to our esteemed guests. It is my pleasure to invite Dr. Saranya Talur to introduce our first guest, Professor B.K. Ravi.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Media Manthan 2025. It's an absolute pride and honor for me because I'm here to introduce the chief guest for today's inauguration session of Media Manthan 2025, Professor B.K. Ravi, someone who has directly and indirectly has influenced me in my career and professional journey also. There are some incidents in our life, I think, which will become forms a big circle. Today, a same situation for me also. Many years back, when I was during my PhD program, Sir used to come and teach us. And now I'm standing here to introduce Sir to my kids. And I think this is a 3-generation journey. I have so much of happiness that I am given the chance to introduce my guru to my kids. Coming to the introduction, Dr. B.K. Ravi is the Vice Chancellor of Koppal University, State Public University, Government of Karnataka, India. He is also the Senior Professor and former Chairman of Department of Communication at Bangalore University, Jnana Bharati campus. Dr. B.K. Ravi served as the Registrar of Bangalore University from 2017 to 2020. Professor B.K. Ravi had made significant contributions to the field of communication research. He is an editor, editorial board member, and advisory board member for more than 15 renowned international and national research journals. He has been invited as a resource person by UGC for more than 12 orientation courses and 16 refresher courses. Professor Ravi was the Deputy Coordinator for Special Assistance Program sponsored by UGC and has already published more than 100 research papers in national and international journals. Professor Ravi has guided so far 12 doctoral students and 8 students are currently pursuing their research under his supervision. Dr. B.K. Ravi was the member of Scientific Committee of First International Forum on Media and Information Literacy, jointly constituted by UNESCO and the University of Fez, Africa. Professor B.K. Ravi was invited to a prestigious international workshop on broadband policy held in 2012 in Washington, D.C., which was jointly organized by the Ford Foundation and Penn State University, USA. Dr. B.K. Ravi is the Vice President of All India Communication and Media Association, Delhi, and honorary member of Media Action Nepal, Kathmandu, an organization which promotes freedom of expression and media development. He is the member of National Executive Council and former chairman of Public Relations Council of India, Karnataka chapter. He also serves as the president of Karnataka Journalism and Communication Teachers Association. He received the National Chanakya Award in 2012 for Academic Communication and the Press Club of Bangalore Award in 2019. He is the Secretary General of National Council India of Asian Communication Media Congress. And Professor B.K. Ravi recently has published, the second edition of his book, Political Communication, Modern Media, Elections and Democracy, was published by Sage Publication, and it was released by Siddaramaiah, Honorable Chief Minister of Karnataka. We are so honored to have you, sir, here with us, and we are all looking forward to hear from you. Thank you so much.
Before this? Yes, sir. Yeah.
Thank you, ma'am. It is now my privilege to request our Vice Chancellor, Professor V.N. Rajashekaran Pillai, for felicitating our guest, Professor B.K. Ravi. I now request, sir, to felicitate Mr. Anil Sharma. Thank you, sir. Moving forward, I now invite Mr. Amey Abal to introduce our distinguished guest, Mr. Anil Sharma.
Honor to introduce a magnificent personality from Indian film industry, Shri Anil Sharma. Actually, he doesn't need any introduction, sirf naam hi kafi hai. But to reach this level of perfection and popularity, he worked so hard, starting with assistant director with B.R. Chopra sir. And then, at the age when you all will get graduated, he directed his first film, Shraddhanjali. And from then, the saga of magnificent films like Tehelka, Farishte, every film. It started in his career. He directed popular actors like Shashi Kapoor, Dharmendra, Rajinikanth, Govinda, and obviously the Deol family. In 2001, Gadar Ek Prem Katha was a remarkable movie in his career. We will say that Anil Sharma's name reached to every Indian's heart with this film. And the second part of Gadar in last year, that was also a blockbuster hit. And in 2018, the film Genius, he directed that movie and his son debuted from that movie. And the recent movie Vanvas is on in the theaters. So it is honored to welcome him in the Media Manthan. Thank you, sir.
With such an illustrious panel before us, we're eager to hear from them. Let us begin with the words of wisdom from Professor B.K. Ravi.
Good morning, everybody. The Honorable Vice Chancellor, Professor Rashekaran Pillai, Professor G.N. Devi, Mr. T.P. Srinivasan, Mr. Anil Sharma, all the faculty members of this university, and my dear students. So at the outset, let me congratulate the Department of Mass Communication, Somaiya School of Humanities and Social Sciences, Somaiya Vidyavihar University, Mumbai, in association with Press Club of India and Foreign Correspondents Club of South Asia, for organizing an excellent conference, Media Manthan, which is an international conference and workshop on media, democracy, and public sphere. And it's a very unusual inaugural session where you have a great dignitary like Professor Rashekaran Pillai. His contribution to the field of higher education is something enormous. Because I know Professor, he was the Vice Chancellor of Mahatma Gandhi University, and he was the Vice Chancellor of Indira Gandhi National Open University. He was in NAC. And now you are all very lucky to be with him. He's the Honorable Vice Chancellor of this university, who has made a great contribution to the field of higher education to this country. Sir, we are very proud of you, sir. And one more very unique thing about this inaugural session is Mr. T.P. Srinivasan. He was a great diplomat. He was ambassador in the United States of America, and he belongs to Indian Foreign Service. And now I have never seen a very senior diplomat teaching for media students, and you're all so lucky to have Mr. Srinivasan. But his exposure, his relationship at the international level will definitely help our students of media studies, sir. We're also very proud of you, sir. It's an excellent occasion, and it's a very unusual, and you have a great celebrity, the great film director, Mr. Anil Sharma, and his contribution to the field of Indian film industry is something great. And we also have Professor Devi. He's a great scholar who is an award winner for Sahitya Academy, and he's a great scholar in English literature. I think all his works are being translated to different Indian languages. Even in Kannada, I think the government of Karnataka has taken a project to translate him. So it's such a great luminary of dignitaries, and really we are very proud of all of you, sir. And our students of journalism are really very lucky to have all of such dignitaries in this occasion. And this, according to me, this is one of the very significant conference on media, democracy, and public sphere. As all of you know, I think I will not take much of my time. Again, I'll come back for my keynote. And basically, as students of media studies, we should never forget the fact that why media is being respected at every point of time. You have three strengths of media. One is, media has the capability of molding public opinion. This is the first strength which we should never forget. The second one is, media has the capability of making people imitate, whether you may like it or not. In all our behavior, in our food habits, thinking, media has the capability of making people imitate. This is a very important factor which you should never forget. The third point is media sets an agenda for the next generation. It is the media which sets the agenda for the next generation. Under this framework, I think we may have to discuss quite a lot of things about the functioning of media, what exactly is happening, what was the pre-independence scenario, post-independence scenario, and what are the latest developments, what exactly are happening, needs to be very thoroughly discussed in this conference. I think you have excellent experts. And one more excellent thing about this conference is we need to have coordination between the Indian media industry and the Indian media education, where quite a lot of time, there's a lot of gap between the Indian media industry and the field of Indian media education. I think I'm very happy that a lot of people are invited from, a lot of professionals, researchers and academicians are being invited to make their presentations. And this is an excellent exercise where the gap between the industry and the academia can be, the gap can be, basically we can take out of that gap, because academicians should know their requirement. Academicians should know the requirement of the Indian media industry, and Indian media industry also should know our difficulties. What are the difficulties in the classroom? How to train budding journalists and so on, so things. So this is an excellent platform, because actually I also represent Indian Communication Congress. I'm the executive president of Indian Communication Congress, where we are spearheading the movement throughout the country, and we are urging Government of India to have Media Education Council of India, because mushrooming of media schools are happening everywhere. So on the lines of AICTE, on the lines of Medical Council of India and other bodies, we also want Medical Education Council of India to be set up. So under these circumstances, once again, I thank the Honorable Vice Chancellor and Dr. Sharanya, who was my student in Bangalore University. She is very hardworking. She is a very sincere student. So I thank all my colleagues and teachers and the Honorable Vice Chancellors for inviting me. Thank you very much. Namaste.
Thank you, sir. Moving ahead, I now invite Mr. Anil Sharma to share his thoughts and insights.
Good morning to everyone. I am very happy and honored to be here. मैं second time आया हूँ यहाँ सोमैया यूनिवर्सिटी में, और 2018 में शायद एक बार पहले आया था. And I feel very happy and honored once again, I tell you. स्टेज के ऊपर यहाँ पे डाइस पे इतनी सब डिग्निटरीज बैठी हुई हैं, और उन सबको भी नमस्कार और मेरा सलाम. और ये सब लोगों ने आपको अभी मीडिया के बारे में, मास मीडिया के बारे में सब कुछ और इतनी सारी बातें कहीं जो मुझे जो सभी सही हैं, बिकॉज ये सब प्रोफेसर्स हैं, ज्ञानी हैं, गुणी हैं, जो कुछ कहेंगे सही कहेंगे. तो इनके आगे मैं क्या कहूँ आपसे. मैं तो एक छोटा मोटा सा फिल्मकार हूँ जो फिल्में बनाता हूँ और आप लोग उसे पसंद करते हैं. बस उसके लिए भी आपको मैं धन्यवाद देना चाहता हूँ. मैं तो आज अपना एक छोटा सा एक दर्द कहना चाहूँगा आप लोगों से. क्या हो गया है कि पार्टीशन से पहले, आज़ादी से पहले मीडिया ने एक बहुत बड़ा पार्ट निभाया देश की आज़ादी का एहसास लोगों को दिलाने के लिए. उसके बाद धीरे धीरे प्रोग्रेस के लिए बात की, उसका एक एहसास दिलाया. लेकिन अब आते आते आजकल सोशल मीडिया के टाइम पे क्या हो गया. एक टाइम था जब हम घर में बैठे थे, गप्पे मारते थे और कुछ बातें करते थे. फिर हम कोई चाय की दुकानों पे, कॉलेज की कैंटीनों में हम गप्पे मारते थे. वो सारी गप्पों की जगह आज व्हाट्सएप हो गया, फेस टाइम हो गया, मतलब व्हाट्सएप हो गया, फेसबुक हो गया, इंस्टाग्राम हो गया, ट्विटर हो गया. और वो सारी बातें जो 2-4 लोगों तक जाती थी वो 2-4 लाखों करोड़ों लोगों तक जा रही हैं, और जिसकी वजह से कुछ अच्छाई भी हो रही है लेकिन बुराई ज़्यादा हो रही है. अब आप देखिए ना, कोई भी पॉडकास्ट हो रहा है, कोई भी किसी तरह की गालियाँ, कोई भी किसी तरह की बातें कर रहे हैं, और एक अलग तरह की दुनिया हम क्रिएट कर रहे हैं. जो मीडिया संसार में अवेयरनेस क्रिएट करने के लिए था, वो अभी धीरे धीरे सोशल मीडिया की वजह से र्यूमर्स क्रिएट करने के लिए हो गया है. तो एज ए मास मीडिया स्टूडेंट्स अब ये बहुत बड़ी जिम्मेदारी हो गई है कि इस व्यवस्था से कैसे टैकल किया जाए। जो सोशल मीडिया देश के लिए, दुनिया के लिए बहुत सार्थक साबित हो सकता था, वो कहीं ना कहीं उल्टी दुनिया की तरफ चल रहा है। उसको कैसे सीधा करना है, वहाँ से कैसे राइट इन्फॉर्मेशन लोगों तक पहुँचे, क्योंकि कल जैसा मैंने अभी कहा कि जो इन्फॉर्मेशन 4 लोगों तक जाती थी वो 4 लाख लोगों तक जा रही है, क्योंकि हमारे हाथ में पावर आ गई है। पहले मीडिया एक पढ़ा लिखा आदमी, एक जिम्मेदार आदमी जिसको बड़ी मुश्किल से कहीं नौकरी मिलती थी, जब बड़ी मुश्किल से 10 इंटरव्यू देने के बाद और 10 जिम्मेदारियां का एहसास करने के बाद उसे अखबार का कागज मिलता, अखबार में लिखने का मौका मिलता था, या रेडियो पे या टीवी पे बोलने का मौका मिलता था। आज वो मौका कुछ भी, किसी भी उल्टी सीधी वजह से, कुछ भी गलत वजह से उसको मिल जा रहा है, और वो लोग हम उससे पढ़ रहे हैं और आनंद ले रहे हैं, लाखों करोड़ों व्यूज़ मिल रहे हैं, और हमको वो सब लगता है कि वही सब सही है। तो ये जो विषम परिस्थिति आ गई है, इस विषम परिस्थिति से निपटने के लिए चाहे वो प्रोफेसर्स हों, चाहे वो स्टूडेंट्स हों, उनके एक बहुत बड़ी जिम्मेदारी हो गई है। तो मैं तो बस यही कहना चाहूँगा कि इस जिम्मेदारी से, इस नई जिम्मेदारी से और इस नए चैलेंज से आप लोग कैसे निपटें, और इन 2 दिन के इस कॉन्क्लेव में इसका कोई रास्ता निकालें कि भाई इसका क्या रास्ता बन सकता है। बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद। थैंक यू।
Thank you, sir. With that, it is my great pleasure to officially declare Media Manthan 2025 open. Before we move forward, I would like to take a moment to express my heartfelt gratitude. Thank you to all our participants, the audience, and our esteemed guests, and our faculty for their incredible support. We would also like to sincerely thank the Press Club of India and the Foreign Correspondence Club of South Asia for their collaboration and invaluable support in making this event possible. Now, let us move ahead with the exciting and enriching sessions that we have planned for these 2 days. It is time to dive into our keynote session by none other than Professor B.K. Ravi. The theme for today's session is Journalistic Metamorphosis, Media Transformation in the Age of Information, as we go through rapid technological advancements, evolving narratives, and challenges of digital journalism. Paper I'll take. Thank you, sir. Without further ado, please join me in welcoming Professor B.K. Ravi to the stage.
Yeah, first slide. Okay, I'm very happy to be with all of you, and this is a very important topic of the metamorphosis of Indian media industry in the age of information. I think before I start continuing on PPT, I think I would like to give some points which are very, very important. Basically, if you want to understand the functioning of media, the status of media at every point of time, I think whenever we talk of, I think all of you come from media background, I need not tell you about the functions of media, the limitations of media, the different types of media, all those things you know. The three functions which are performed by media to inform, to entertain and to educate, and all those things you know. And in our democratic setup, we also have quite a lot of hurdles of media. Most of the time, we also have a very rosy picture about the functioning of media. But still, in our setup, you have quite a lot of hurdles which come in the way of very fruitful functioning of media. These are some of the basic factors which you have to very clearly understand. If you look into the pre-independence scenario, I think you also understand the role of media even in our freedom struggle, where exactly we stand, and quite a lot of things of that kind. And if you want to understand media in detail, if you want to go in depth, please don't forget the fact that India is a multilingual, multi-religious, multicultural country. You can't compare India with any other countries in the world. India is unique in itself, and we have quite a lot of other factors which needs to be understood by a student of media studies. Because a student of media studies will be a student of quite a lot of subjects. Media student should have the command over the language, you should know the history, you should know the geography, you should know science, you should know film industry, you should know commerce, you should know sports, you should know crime, you should know quite a lot of subjects, you should know political science, you should know sociology, you should, and a student of media studies will be a student of various subjects which you have to very clearly understand. If you know the history of this country, if you know the sociological history of this country, only then you will be in a position to understand where exactly we stand so far as Indian media industry is concerned. So, and if you, the post-independence scenario, the pre-independence scenario was totally different. Don't forget the fact that majority of the population was illiterate when we got independence. And the post-independence scenario, 3-4 decades, if you just look into the history, you could see the increase of literacy rates. And whenever we talk of print media, illiteracy was the first enemy of the print. Whenever we talk of print, we'll be talking of the newspaper, the periodicals, the magazines. So illiteracy was the first enemy of the print media, and because majority of them were illiterate, where exactly we used to stand, I think all of you know. And apart from that, the film industry. The film industry, you have a very excellent history in India. So after the post-independence scenario, and after the adoption of Indian Constitution, the year 1950, when Baba Saheb Ambedkar gave us an Indian Constitution, where Article 19(1)(a) and 19(1)(b), all of you know, right of expression and quite a lot of things. But right of expression was the part of Indian Constitution, and all of you know where you have the restrictions, what do you mean by right of expression, and all those things you know. But after independence, a greatest, very important factor was we never had a scientific communication policy in this country. This you should never forget. Though we had right of expression, we had some control by the government at every point of time. See, from the beginning, it was indirect control on the newspapers. So for a supply of newsprints, release of advertisements, I think Government of India had an indirect control from the beginning, though newspapers were free. But electronic media, it was never 100% free in our country in the beginning days, after independence for some decades. Electronic media was controlled. Electronic media means whenever we talk of radio and Doordarshan, All India Radio and Doordarshan, and you can't rule out the contribution of All India Radio to the field of development communication. The role of All India Radio in achieving green revolution in this country is something enormous. At every point of time, you should never forget this. But still, electronic media was under the control of the government. It was the Ministry of Information and Broadcasting which used to control both All India Radio and Doordarshan. And I think quite indirectly, the film censors, later on it was called as Film Certification Board, Even because of film certification, even film industry was under the surveillance of the film certification board. See, this was the situation. Print had some hurdles, electronic media directly under the government of India. Third one, the film industry also had the control of film certification board. This was how we used to function. And after 47, even up to 1980, if you could see the history, Indian media, the newspapers, it was the empire of All India Radio. From 47 to almost 80, you could see the empire of All India Radio. The listenership rate was very high. So the contribution of All India Radio to the field of development, even Government of India was very particular that electronic media will be used only for developmental purposes, and both All India Radio and Doordarshan, we call them as public service media. They are involved in what is called achieving development of this country. Even newspapers from 50s, 60s, 70s, even in 80s, except the era of emergency from 1975 to 1977, when Article 19(1)A was suspended, and newspapers faced quite a lot of problems, I think all of you know. And these are some of the parts of history which you have to be very, very authoritative. You had to go, sit, read, and you had to understand what happened in the emergency, under what sections of the Constitution emergency was imposed, what happened, and how media functioned there. And what do you mean by Bhagalpur blinding incident? What are the other very important things that happened during emergency? And if you impose press censorship in a democratic setup, what will happen? So these are some of the things which a student of media studies should know in detail. So the real history started, and what was the law of the land in those days? The law of the land, so far as electronic media was concerned, was no individual or an institution, except the Ministry of Information and Broadcasting, is empowered to broadcast or telecast a radio or television signal from this soil. What is the legislation? It was very, very clear. No individual or an institution, apart from Ministry of Information and Broadcasting, Government of India, is empowered to broadcast or telecast a radio or television signal from this soil. This was the rule. So the real history started from 1975 when Aryabhatta was launched. It was a satellite which was launched, and then started the era of telecommunication. I think in the year 1980, after emergency, in 1977, Janata Party took over. Morarji Desai became the Prime Minister, and the bill was presented before the Parliament to give autonomy to All India Radio and Doordarshan, which was called the Prasar Bharati Bill. All of you should know the contents of Prasar Bharati Bill. So again, in the year 1980, in Lok Sabha elections, Indira Gandhi, she became the Prime Minister. She was re-elected. Then by that time, the satellite communication had started in this country, 1980, and it was the first ASIAD which was organized by India, and the Government of India wanted to have a live telecast of ASIAD in India. Then started what is called the expansion of Doordarshan in India. And earlier, before 1980, Doordarshan was visible in only 4 places. One was in, headquarters was in Mumbai, Delhi, Calcutta, and Chennai. There used to be 20 or 25 black and white television sets, and All India Radio, in the All India Radio Bhavan, they used to have 1 hour telecast, half an hour telecast, anything of that kind. So in the year 1975, ISRO, along with the Department of Communication, Bangalore University, we had what is called SITE experiment, Satellite Instructional Television Experiment, that also opened the doors for the entry of television to this country. So in the year 1980, when satellite was linked, the signals were linked, we had, we started, HKL Bhagat was the Minister of Information and Broadcasting. We started what is called expansion of Doordarshan throughout the country. Those days, it was called terrestrial telecast. Terrestrial telecast. Terrestrial telecast is uploading the signal to the satellite, receiving the signals back from the satellites, and again re-telecasting it by using the transmitter, which is called terrestrial telecast of television signals. And basically, transmitters were installed in different parts of the country. There are three types of transmitters. One was high power transmitter, medium power transmitter, and low power transmitter. Three types of transmitters. High power transmitter had the radius of 60 kilometers. All state capitals and very big cities, they used to have high power transmitter. Medium power transmitter used to be in selected district headquarters. It's not that all districts never had. And the low power transmitters, they had the capability of 30 kilometers. High power had 60 kilometers. Medium power transmitter had 30 kilometers. And the low power transmitters, we call it as LPT. LPT had the radius of 10 kilometers. And the expansion of Doordarshan started. Asiad event went on live. That is the first live which went on Doordarshan in India. Asiad was the first live sport event which went on live because of the satellite connectivity. So the real history of Indian media starts from 1980, because television started entering our drawing rooms, and the print, the newspapers and periodicals were worried. The film industry was worried, because in television you used to get film songs, you used to get films, you used to get news. Newspapers were worried. Who will buy a copy of the newspaper? The greatest threat was television. It was Doordarshan. And even All India Radio. We had what is called the empire of All India Radio in this country. More than 99% of the area we used to reach throughout the country. And a very big question before even radio came. Who will listen to All India Radio? All film music. See, All India Radio used to give us news. It used to give us film songs. It used to give us quite a lot of things. Who will listen to All India Radio? And the listenership of All India Radio came down very heavily after the entry of television to this country. The real history of Indian media industry starts from 1980, after the expansion of television in this country. This is a very important factor which you should never forget. Even film industry was also scared. Who will come to our theaters? What will happen to the future of Indian film industry? And then everybody started fighting with television in this country. Newspapers started fighting with television. Film industry started fighting with television. Even radio, All India Radio, again, they also wanted to fight with television. That was the situation. So television. First it started with black and white television in the year 1985, when Rajiv Gandhi came back to power. And unfortunately, 1984, then the then Prime Minister Srimati Indira Gandhi was assassinated. The second event which went on air was the swearing ceremony of Rajiv Gandhi as the Prime Minister of this country. That was the second event which went live on Doordarshan. The third event was the funeral of Mrs. Gandhi. The funeral of Mrs. Gandhi was watched by hundreds and thousands of people throughout the country live on television. And in the year 1985, Rajiv Gandhi came back with enormous two-third majority, and where he brought a policy of, in those days it was again black and white television. India wanted color television, and he exempted the import of color television tubes with the tax, and all the companies started color television. And from again 1985, the rapid expansion of television started. In those days, the great media barons, the global media barons, came and they requested Government of India to permit them to start a television station. They wanted their own radio stations. They wanted their own media, because India was a developing economy. We had an excellent consumer capability in this country. We wanted all the media to have good advertisement revenue. And at one point of time, the annual revenue of Doordarshan was around 500 crores in those days. 500 crores was not a small amount. I'm talking of 80s. Everything, the advertisement revenue is grabbed by Doordarshan. That was the situation. Media barons were requesting Government of India to permit them, but Government of India said no, no foreign entity so far as media is concerned, because it will affect our unity and integrity of the country. Government of India never allowed, and the international media barons were waiting for a chance to strike. Now, electronic media was linked to satellite, and newspapers, they started changing their color because of the technology. The entry of, once the satellite communication started, because of the technology, because of the telecommunication, newspapers started having their facsimile editions. Because earlier, it used to take a lot of time to reach a village. Printing a copy of Times of India or Indian Express from Mumbai used to take Nagpur, Pune, very, very long time, because they never had facsimile editions. Once the telecommunication was connected, all the district headquarters, they had their editions, and they were in a position to print the color newspapers, excellent printing machines. In nowadays, our printing machines used to print around 5,000 copies per hour. Because of the technology, we had the printing machines which could print 1 lakh copies, multicolor 1 lakh printing copies in 1 hour, 1 lakh. See, that was the capability. Newspapers started changing their the content, the design, and the news magazines started. And even the film industry also started singing to the tunes of Doordarshan, and all the TV stars entered film stars entered television. There is an excellent exchange. And by that time, I think I told you about the terrestrial television, and I also explained about the law of the land. By 1885, the video boom started. 1985 saw an excellent video boom. All the hotels, your parlors, everywhere we started having, because Doordarshan Delhi, programs used to come from Doordarshan Delhi, and the whole country used to see all Hindi programs. And in some of the southern states, they're all fed up with only Hindi programs. And by the time regional telecast was given, Doordarshan Kendra Trivandrum, Doordarshan Kendra Bangalore, Doordarshan Kendra Hyderabad, they started very late. Even they had only 1 hour, 2 hours in the beginning. Later on, it was expanded. By that time, we had what is called the concept of video. Video VCR. VCR came, then VCPs came, and all the people, they started having video parlors. And at one point of time, what happened, some of the engineers were worried, because they used to get only programs from Delhi, and some of the villages, they never used to get the signals. See, for example, low power transmitter had the radius of 10 kilometers. Am I communicating? Are you understanding? Because it's a technical issue, it's not that easy to understand. Low power transmitter had the capability of reaching to only 10 kilometers. Doordarshan signals, if you switch on your TV set, people never used to get signals after 11 kilometers. What that people used to do, then what they did, they themselves, somebody living in Dubai brought a dish. He bought a dish and he installed on his house, and he started getting signals directly, Doordarshan Kendra Delhi, all Hindi signals. And they also wanted to watch Ramayana, Mahabharata, you know, the great epics of India. People used to wait for Ramayana. People used to wait for Sri Krishna to appear when the Mahabharata episode started. So when they started having their own dish, and all the other villages, they came and they requested the owner, so why alone you are seeing the Doordarshan telecast? Can you connect your cable even to our TV set? He said, yes, why not? So connection started, 1 house, 2nd house, 3rd house, 4th house, and all 150, 200 houses also started getting the signals. And without the knowledge of Government of India, without the knowledge of any communication experts, the mushrooming of cable television happened in this country without the knowledge, no legislation, no permission, nothing doing. Cable television entered this country. In all villages, everybody started having a dish connected to your TV sets, and it became a parallel. All regional news bulletin in Marathi, regional news bulletin in Kannada, regional news bulletin in Tamil, it became a parallel to Doordarshan. The emergence of cable television started in this country. Robert Murdoch, he was waiting for a chance to strike. See, why I am telling this point is because once you have the technology, it will not be under your control. Please don't forget, my dear friends. At any point of time, once if you have the technology, it will not be under your control. You can't straight away grab it. Once your signal reaches your transmitter, how will you grab your signal back? Once if you leave your signal to the transmitter, see, for example, I am using this mic. Once my audio reaches here, can I withdraw the audio back? No, technology, it can't happen. So once the cable television, Murdoch and everybody, international barons, they were very particular that they enter the Indian media industry because of the consumerism, because of a lot of demand. Because except Doordarshan, whatever Doordarshan used to show, you were forced to see. Whatever All India Radio used to play, you were forced to listen to that song. So then what happened? What was the law of the land? The law of the land was, nobody can telecast or broadcast from this soil. No, not required. Why soil? Robert Murdoch started what is called your Star TV, satellite television for Asian region. What do you mean by star? Satellite television for Asian region. Murdoch started a company with a headquarters in Hong Kong. He hired the Arabsat with a transponder. He hired, the headquarters was Mumbai. He hired all the artists from Karnataka, Maharashtra, Hindi film industry, Telugu, Tamil, everywhere. And they started producing programs. Same thing happened, if you recall the history, because the history of Indian media is very, very vast. If you recall, early 50s, All India Radio refused to broadcast film songs. I'm talking of 1950, 51, 52. The Ministry of Information and Broadcasting, they refused to broadcast Hindi film songs in All India Radio. Then Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation, a transmitter, which is called shortwave transmitter. It was SW transmitter, was gifted from United States of America to Sri Lanka. Because always America was worried about the growth of India. They were all very friendly with Sri Lanka. They were very friendly with Pakistan in those days. Now the relationship has changed now. US had gifted a transmitter to Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka government started what is called Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation. Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation. It was around maybe 30 kilometers from Rameshwaram to Colombo to enter Sri Lanka. All India Radio refused because in those days it was the golden era of Hindi film music. Saigal, Lata Mangeshkar, Mohammad Rafi, Mukesh. See what type of singers we had. Throughout the world, nobody can match our Hindi film songs, our Indian film songs in the world. That was such a popular music we had. Asha Bhosle, Lata Mangeshkar. What type of singers you had? Even today you can't. Then what happened? The sponsorship started. Sri Lanka and these people from Hindi film industry, they wanted to popularize their film songs. They approached Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation and the production center was Mumbai. You know, what is his name? Binaka Geetmala. Binaka company started sponsoring Hindi film songs. Binaka Geetmala, it used to be recorded in Mumbai. It used to reach Colombo, and the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation, Amit Sayani, one of the greatest narrators in the world. Amit Sayani had such an excellent listenership. I don't know how many of you know about Amit Sayani. He was such an excellent presenter. And Binaka Geetmala became so popular, and even people from Russia used to listen to our Hindi film songs. That is the power of Indian music. So we had the history. Then what did Murdoch do? He started an office in Hong Kong. He produced programs in Mumbai, and all the videotape used to go to Hong Kong, and they started telecasting, where he started Star with his fashion channel, sports music, sports movies, and even fashion channel. Immediately, 1990, 1992, the Star TV started. See, sitting in Hong Kong, I am beaming the signals. Your law says you should not telecast from your land. Then what would our cable operators do? All our dish, they were facing east, they shifted it to west. They didn't do anything. It was in the east, they just shifted it to west. And all Star TV entered all our drawing rooms without the knowledge of Government of India. The then Prime Minister, the Honorable Prime Minister of India, P.V. Narasimha Rao, he switch on his TV. To his shock, he sees Star TV. Without my permission, how can Star TV enter? What is this fashion? Oh, what is this? Because we were never used to that. The fashion culture, I think all of you know. It was a cultural shock to Indians. Prime Minister was shocked. Immediately emergency meeting. Oh, how can Star TV enter without our permission? Technology doesn't require the permission of anybody. That was the lapse on the part of Government of India because we never had a scientific communication policy in this country. We never dreamt the growth of media. We never dreamt. We thought, hey, everything is in our control. Why to bother? Murdoch entered and the Prime Minister called the meeting of ISRO and he said, hey, how can we have to stall this? We can't allow this to happen. And then our scientist said, sir, if you plant the same satellite in that axis, Arabsat, only then we can block. Yeah, we can block. What is that? Sir, it requires 5 years to build a satellite. 5 years to build a satellite. So what will happen within 5 years? Within 5 years, the cultural shock happened. Transnational television channels entered without the knowledge of Indian media. And now the total concept of media consumerism started in this country without the knowledge of anybody. Without the knowledge. It brought about what is called the privatization, competition, commercialization, and the political ownership of media started from there. You should see the whole transformation of Indian media. And in our days, we never used to have good printing machines. You had a lot of problems. We had a lot of problems in sending information, the flow of information. Because I was a journalist in the year 1975-76. To reach All India Radio, I used to struggle. There never used to be a telephone line. The telegraph lines never used to work. Because I belong to Chitradurga, which is 200 kilometers from Bangalore. I was a correspondent, I was stinger. In those days, they used to call them as correspondents, stingers of All India Radio. To give two-line news, I used to go and sit about 3 a.m. in the telegraph office in my place. And I used to wait for the telephone operator to connect me to All India Radio. The bulletin used to be by 6:40 I used to sit in the telegraphic office by 3 a.m. in the morning. Only after 6:30, when the telephone operator wake up and he used to say, what is this nonsense, how many times? In those days, we had a facility called press call. Telegraph lines, they never used to work. There used to be only 26 letters in telegram. There never used to be Devanagari. No script in Kannada, Malayalam, Telugu, Tamil, Hindi, nothing. Even Devanagari Lipi was also not there. Later on, it was introduced. So that was the situation. Reaching itself was very difficult. That was from there, now you have, you could see the whole transformation, the competition, privatization, all political parties. Earlier, political ownership of newspapers was there. You can't deny it. But all television channels were owned, majority of them, by the political parties. They started having their own election symbols, have their logos. What happened with Sun TV? What happened with Jayalalitha TV? What happened in Andhra Pradesh? What happened in Maharashtra? Is all part of history. So after 90s, the real history of Indian media starts after 80s, after the entry of television. And never in the history we used to call it as business. Media was never considered as business. Media was considered as the field of social service. Journalists were very well respected. Your contribution to build this nation, you're all social workers. But once the transnational television entered, once the computerization happened, once the globalization happened, and when the technology started dictating, then we were forced to call Indian media as an industry. Never in the history we used to call it as an industry. Profit and loss making business, it became business, Indian media industry. And even the growth of technology, you could just look into how the technology has grown. Now today we talk of artificial intelligence. Today everybody speaks of AI, oh AI, it has come. You just look into our days, 60s, 70s, there used to be a very big radio set in one house in a village or in one town, and used to have an aerial, we used to get the signals, and people were dreaming, if you want to listen to radio film songs, I should sit at home. If I can carry this, I say, to my field, aram se I can listen to film songs. Then the transistor arrived. Then the farmer started thinking, every day these all India radio people, they play the same songs. If I had the option, why not option to listen whatever song we want? Then the tape recorder came, monotype, stereotype, digital. See the technology, from where to where? From radio to your mobile. Now, emergence of internet. If you have a mobile set with you, you can read a copy of a newspaper. You can listen to any channel. You can listen to any radio. You can watch whatever TV. You can communicate to any part of the world within a fraction of a minute. This is the technology which has, and this is the metamorphosis of Indian media industry. From where to where? From where we started, and without the knowledge of anybody, now the transnational TV entered from 90s to 2025. If you look into the growth of how many television channels you have, how many newspapers you have, and in the middle we started having what is called the FM frequency modulation radio to have parallel radio, and FM radio also has become very, very popular. You have community radio, you have the emergence of social media, the advent of internet has seen the amalgamation of media at one point of time. You have what is called the concept of convergence of media at every point of time. So, in view of all these things, you have to very intelligently understand this transformation. I call the whole concept of changing of media. See, it's not only the technology, even the content of Indian newspapers has changed. Content of newspaper. Earlier, used to teach, it was inverted pyramid style. It should be the first para, Y second para, third para, 5 Ws and 1 H. What should be important? What should be the lead? Now, the entry of political ownership of media, they have their own agenda. You have what is called the concept of agenda setting. What should be shown, what not should be shown. And at every point of time, as an academician, I have taught for 35 years, I always used to say, what will happen to your gatekeeping theory? What happened to your social responsibility theory? What happened to your commercialization? Do's and don'ts? What should be done? What should not be done? And there are quite a lot of things of that kind. I don't say that metamorphosis has brought only the negative factors. It has also brought the positive factors. And one very unusual thing about the Indian media industry is we have never seen any medium closing down. See, newspapers have fought with television. Radio, FM radio has fought with television. Indian film industry has fought with television, and today, India, we are number 1 in the globe. Now, nobody can beat your Bollywood. It was earlier Hollywood, my dear friends. If you can remember, the days of 70s, 80s and 90s, United States of America used to dictate terms. They used to produce the content only for the sake of developing country. They always used to produce films on wars. They used to produce films on James Bond. What is the concept of James Bond? All the people in the developing countries, there never used to be technology with us. We never used to see a telephone at home. And in those days, people in the United States of America used to sit in a car and they used to speak on telephone. That was the situation. After animation, they started creating new trends where you have Mummy 1, Mummy 2, Mummy 3, animation. And you had Jurassic Park, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. What has happened in the last 2 decades? What has happened in the last 2 decades? Please don't forget the fact that Hollywood, they have created everything. Now it is the Bollywood which has stood up #1 in the world. The whole entertainment content, they are depending upon India for their survival. And countries like Japan, China, they always used to do all kung fu, and Indians enter the dragon. We used to see, one person can fight with 20 people. It was a creation. Now, how the situation has changed. In the past 1.5 decades, country like United States of America, Japan, China, Korea, they are in the queue to invest in Indian media industry. They want to invest in Indian television industry and Indian film industry. That is the changes that has happened. So you also have a lot of positive factors also, because the employment generation has increased. There's a lot of opportunities, and you can't compare the Indian talents with any part of the world. Even if you go to United States of America, you have to see your entertainment content. Entertainment content of India, nobody can match today. See, this is the overall situation where I just wanted to give you an introduction about the metamorphosis of Indian media industry, from where we started and where we are ending. Yeah, next. I just given you a bird's view, and all of you know what is this metamorphosis. Metamorphosis is nothing but the transformation. I think most of you science students will very easily understand the terminology metamorphosis. Metamorphosis is nothing but a caterpillar, how it converts itself as a beautiful butterfly. That's how Indian media industry, it has turned as a butterfly. That's the transformation. It is nothing but transformation. It's a major shift in how the media, the journalism works. And all of you know about the media. You're all students with the media background. We'll be talking of newspapers, television, radio, websites, social media, and quite a lot of things. So basically, I think your generation, you are very lucky because the technology is with you. In our days, we never had the technology. And you have this age, the information. See, in this current time, where information is everything, and it is a technology. It can be your internet with smartphones, which makes easier to access and share news very instantly. And I am just going to make a presentation about how journalism and the way we share news are changing completely because of technology and the huge amount of information available today. Now information is everything. Next. See, nowadays, sharing information itself was very, very difficult. See, for example, these developed countries, if they had invented some medicine, sharing it itself used to be very, very difficult. That's why we used to call all developing countries as the concept of the third world. You had what is called the concept of the third world. So it was such a difficult situation. And all of you know about what is journalism. It is the gathering, assessing and presenting news and information. And all of you know the role of journalism in society. Journalism and the media, it's considered as the fourth pillar of democracy, and which is very, very important. And media has contributed to the field of development. Media has contributed in molding public opinion. Definitely, media has also contributed in different ways at every point of time because of its accountability and transparency. And I think I explained how it has changed from print to broadcast. It has quite a lot of things have changed. For example, previous one. For example, the role of citizen journalism has emerged. I think all of you know because of the social media, and real-time reporting has come. And for example, you have the Wire, the Indian digital media platform. It's a new age model of journalism which relies on reader support. Next. And what was the traditional era of journalism? The traditional era of journalism, newspaper, they dominated for over a century. For example, if you look into the Times of India, one of the oldest newspapers, it's still in circulation. Times of India is one of the largest newspapers of this country, and Hindustan Time played a very important crucial role in India's freedom struggle. And if you see the role of radio and television, it's All India Radio and Doordarshan. I think I explained about All India Radio and Doordarshan, the main news broadcaster before television, and first television, Doordarshan, DD News, which was the news broadcaster in India. And we had what is called the concept of gatekeeping role of editors. Even in the classroom, we always used to teach the theory of gatekeeping. What do you mean by gatekeeping? Gatekeeping theory is, if whenever you get a information, you have to check, cross-check, recheck. But our young generation journalists, once they finish their post-graduation, what they do, they are very enthusiastic. They want to break the news. I am the first to break the news. What is the first lesson which we teach in the classroom? Gatekeeping theory. Whenever you get some information, if you do not know, please check it, cross-check it. In Karnataka, what happened, I am going to give you an example. One fine morning, 7 o'clock, I always tell my students, be enthusiastic, be hardworking, but don't take risks. See, whenever you get some information, if you do not know, because your generation may not know the names of very old politicians or somebody. 7 o'clock, his phone rang. He was sitting on the television channel live, which is one of the largest television network in the country, in Karnataka, in Bangalore. And somebody said, hey, what is this? What are you TV people doing? I say, our great leader has passed away. What are you doing? Nonsense, he said. This fellow said, what? He said some name, some Ramana. Ramana has passed away. He's a great leader. What are you doing? This fellow is very enthusiastic. And he always used to argue with me. I always used to tell him, technology, you should know what technology, how to use, when to use, how much to use, how intelligently you should use. Don't depend only on technology. This is, no, sir. Google Guru will tell us everything, sir. Why you are bothered? Then what did he do? He went to Google and typed Ramanna. Google said, Ramana is a sitting MLA of such a constituency. This fellow thought, oh, yo, I have gotten great news. I have to break this news first. Then he started breaking the news. Ramanna, some MLA passed away. Ramanna, some MLA passed away. The other student, media student, the media advisor to the Honorable Chief Minister of Karnataka was sitting, 7:10. He saw the dispatch. He said, oh, yo, why? And he called him, hey, you take the condolence of CM, I say. And the second line, the CM condoles the death, so-and-so. The third student, again our media student, the media advisor to the Honorable Governor of Karnataka. He said, oh, you're carrying CM, you take Governor condolence, Central Minister condolence, everybody started condoling. Nobody knows who has died. Nobody knows. And this poor fellow, that Ramana sitting MLA, unfortunately it was Monday. He had gone to his village from constituency. He started early morning to reach Bangalore. By 11 o'clock, he reached outskirts of Bangalore, and his driver switched off radio, FM radio, All India Radio in the bulletin. And he was getting all condolence, and this fellow was sleeping. He asked the driver, hey, what is this? Something is coming. He said, nothing, Anna, you just sleep. And he slept. And by the time he reached his legislator's home, all the officers, they cut open his office and brought his photo, and they all started delivering big speeches. A leader like him should again be born. He's a great leader. He passed away, this, that, and all mourning function was going on. This fellow, unfortunately, he got down. And people started running, whether we were saying the ghost or the MLA. And later on it was found out, the person with the same name, earlier some minister 40 years ago had passed away. This fellow didn't check. See, such blunders will happen, which will affect the credibility of the media, where you should be very, very careful. Otherwise, the whole credibility of an individual and the credibility of media definitely will suffer. So if you just look into gatekeeping role is again very, very important. And if you just look into the data, by 2025, I think India in the media industry is, the projection is around, it will grow to around rupees 2.55 trillion by 2025. And digital media will grow up to 27%, cumulative average growth rate. See, every year media students should go through the report every year, sometime by the end of March. CAGR will release the reports. So if you just look into 1947, there were around 200 plus newspapers. And by 2023, you see around more than 1 lakh registered publications. And television households, you have around 210 million by 2023. This is the growth of Indian media industry. And you could see the growth of independent journalism. You have The Wire, the News Laundry, Alternative News. And the excellent thing is, they're all reader-funded media platforms that they fact-check the mainstream narratives at every point of time. And you have the rise of influencer-led news. See, YouTube channels, they are also doing very well. And you have names like Dhruv Rathi and Akash Banerjee and from Deshbhakt. They provide alternative political commentaries, because most of the time you have quite a lot of issues that needs to be discussed on the mainstream media, the political ownership of media, the agenda setting theory. You have what is called the agenda setting theory. What is the difference between your publicity and propaganda? These are very important factors which you have to look into, because straight away you can't just say and just take things for granted. And you have what is called the rise of digital news portals are also there. The digital stuff is also rising like anything. You have the websites like the Quint, Scroll.in, the print cater to the tech-savvy audience. NDTV and India Today transitioned successfully to digital platforms. And most of the time, print media, and they are forced to shift it to the digital mode. See, the Indian Newspaper Society, it reported 30% decline in print readership from 2019 to 2023. And even unfortunately after COVID, which accelerated the digital adoption, forcing newspapers to boost online presence. Because unfortunately after COVID, I think, as you know, around 40% of the journalists, they lost their jobs, and quite a lot of things have happened. Next. And you have the social media. I think in India, you have, it's a revolution. The social media as a news source. In India, we have around 450 million YouTube users and 400 million Facebook users. And now Twitter, now it's called X, and WhatsApp. They are, I think all of you have WhatsApp, and they are the key platforms for breaking news. And do you have any impact of viral news? See, for example, after Pulwama attack in 2019, it saw misinformation and unverified claims spread across WhatsApp and Twitter. Because of the technology, it's very easy for us to propagate whatever message you want within a fraction of a minute. And if you just look into the data, India's internet users is the second largest in the world after China. See, we have the great internet users, and mobile data consumption is 17 GB per user per month, which is one of the highest in globally. And the rural internet users is around 48% of total users, 2023. And even mobile users with internet connection, the number is growing every day. And in other countries, whenever we go to other countries, we don't see the mobile ringing, very, very rare. But in India, at every point of time, our mobiles will be ringing, ringing, ringing. That's why we call it as Speak India, Speak. What all of us will speak. And housewives, after all of us will leave to the office, they will say, what are you doing? Are you preparing dosa? What was the tiffin? You have done your bread butter? What is your omelette? Your idlis? So, and nobody will tell you the truth. Where are you? I say, within 2 minutes I will come. It will take half an hour. Okay. See, that's why we have, and we are the largest users of mobile in the world. Next. And I'll be talking of artificial intelligence in journalism also. And my dear friends, please don't be under the impression that it's only technology will do everything. And this generation is under the impression that artificial intelligence will do everything. No. Artificial intelligence is there to help you. It will quicken the process of communication. See, you're all students with media background. Please don't forget the fact. The process of communication has not changed. Your technology has quickened the process of communication. Most of us will interpret in glorifying the technology what we do. We try to glorify technology and we are under the impression that AI will do everything. No, AI will do certain things. It will be transparent. You ask AI for a photograph, put my name. It will give you 10,000 photographs with my name, BK Ravi. And how will you select who is BK Ravi, who is not? So again, it cannot be equivalent to the human brain, but technology will help us. See, for example, artificial intelligence in newsrooms, Asia News International and Times of India, they automate news updates. 30% of Indian newsrooms, they have started using artificial intelligence is not a new thing for us. See, all of you are using your mobile and even your WhatsApp. Whatever button you put, everything is done by the artificial intelligence. Unknowingly, AI has already entered our technology. And deep fakes and AI-generated fake news. Normally, I don't agree with the usage of this fake news, but it has become internationalized now. Fake news is a wrong usage so far as the language is concerned. Anything which is true is news. Anything which is not true cannot be news. So fake and news cannot go together, but still at the international level, everybody has started using fake news. Even for example, social distancing. See, when in COVID, at the international level, people started using the word social distancing. What is the difference between physical distancing and social distancing? There are two things. The international level, people doesn't understand. In India, social distancing means a lot. It should be physical distancing. So, but still, everybody has started using the same word. And see, that is the strength of media. That's why I always told you, it sets an agenda for the next generation. Whether a plural, whether masculine, feminine. See, there are so many things which are wrong usage of the language, but it's being legalized because of the strength of media. See, for example, you have the Bollywood actor Shah Rukh Khan, and all these viral artificial intelligence, fake video and all those things. And artificial intelligence generated news saves 40 productions of production time. Yeah, production time and the human resource, everything has come down because of AI. It's a fact. And it doesn't mean to say that everything will be done by AI. And ethical challenges is, can an artificial intelligence replace human journalists? It cannot. Human journalist is a human journalist, okay? And transparency maybe, because whenever we talk of agenda setting and whenever we talk of propaganda, I think AI can help us. Next. And if you look into the podcasts, video and audio journalism, you could see the growth of podcasts like the Seen and Unseen, IVM podcasts and all those things. Audio news platforms, Spotify, Ghana, and podcasting listeners in India is around 150 plus million. I'm giving you the data of 2023. 35% of listeners are aged around 18 to 25. See, that is the greatest strength of this country, because you have a huge population of youngsters. That is the boon to this country. Nowhere in the world you have such a young population. Go to any country, China or United States of America, you're all age-old people, all pensioners countries. And the greatest strength of India is we have excellent youth power in this country. And I think I was telling you about Dhruv and other things. Short form video news on Instagram, YouTube news channels, 50% growth in viewership. 70% of Indians prefer video news over text. See, that is one of the reports generated by Google. And whenever we talk of misinformation is again a very important concept. And India is one of the largest consumer of WhatsApp, making it a hotspot. Because through WhatsApp, I think most of the time wrong information are, see, for example, in child kidnapping hoax. See, this country, rumors play a very important role. See, whenever you have rumors, people, they don't verify the truth. Straight away, you are emotionally, you start behaving it. And we also have the government initiatives, Press Information Bureau, Fact Check and Alternative News, and 80% of Indians encounter fake news weekly at every point of time. 60% of fake news is shared via WhatsApp, which says the BBC. We cannot believe the study done by BBC, but it's not. Next. So we have the credibility. Whenever we talk of credibility, most of the time, and media trust. See, I think in the beginning itself, whenever we talk of the functioning of media, we'll be talking of the credibility. Any media which enjoys the credibility of the population will survive. Once if you lose the credibility of the population, its survival is at stake. That you should never forget. And now India's press freedom ranking in World Press Freedom Index, it fell to 161 out of 180 countries. All of you know this. And regarding the corporate ownership, Adani's acquisition of NDTV, and there are a lot of discussion on these things. And I think it is high time we restore the credibility of Indian media, the ethical journalism practices, transparency in funding, and fact-based reporting. These are some of the very important factors which we have to be very, very careful. Otherwise, please don't forget the fact that it's only the healthy media which can create the healthy society at every point of time. If you compromise with the health of media at any point of time, it will affect the social concepts, especially in a country like India. And even the legality, because I don't really propagate the legislation or the legal hurdles imposed on the media, because Indian Constitution has given us the right of expression, but still there is no other way out because of the technology. Government of India has brought about IT rules 2021, regulating online content and fake news, and even IT rules 2021 impact on digital media. Digital Personal Data Protection Act 2023, it has an implication for journalists. 50 plus cases of internet shutdowns has happened in 2022, which is one of the highest globally. And again, you have the Reliance ownership of Network 18, again raises concerns over media neutrality. Because whenever the corporate investments are there, most of the time it's the people, they started thinking about the credibility of the particular media. Next. And what will happen to the future? Future is again more paywall content, and there is a possibility of rise of artificial intelligence powered personalized news feeds, greater scrutiny on corporate owned media, and augmented reality and virtual reality are there maybe in news reporting, personalized news feeds using artificial intelligence. 40% of newsrooms plan to adopt augmented reality and virtual reality by 2025. Artificial intelligence driven personalization increases engagement by 30%. I think the future looks like this, we'll see. And it is a fact that journalism in India is evolving, it's rapidly. It's undergoing rapid transformation, there is no doubt about it. And misinformation is a major threat at every point of time. The future is digital first, and reader funded and artificial intelligence driven may stay there. And digital media is the future, but the challenges will remain same, there is no doubt about it. And importance of fact checking and accountability, because India is a country of sentiments that you should never forget. And in the name of language, in the name of religion, it's very easy to spread some wrong information, and which will create problems with the law and order and with the social harmony. And balancing speed and accuracy. And 65% of Indians trust verified news sources over social media. Fact checking reduces misinformation by 50%. And digital ad spent in India was around 40,000 crores in 2023. And by 2025, 80% of news consumption will be digital. That's the projection by the latest data. And before concluding, I just want to quote Thomas Jefferson, who said, "The press is the best instrument for enlightening the mind of man and improving him as a rational, moral and social being." So these are some of the factors which I just wanted to place before you. Please don't forget the fact, by chance, if you get an opportunity, very important places in the media, the decision-making body, please, I don't say that you should go against your management and lose your job, don't do that, but please don't forget the social responsibility theory, please don't forget the gatekeeping theory, and at every point of time, it is the healthy media which will create a healthy society. Please don't forget this, because you have to contribute for the development of the nation. See, society, our country has given you everything. It's only the credibility of the media. Whenever we believe a media, it will survive. and the society has given you quite a lot of things. And what will you give back to the society with a social responsibility? Without highlighting more on commercialization, your privatization, your own other agenda and other things. Please don't forget the social responsibility theory at every point of time, because we have to contribute quite a lot, and as media you are capable of contributing a lot for the development of this nation. It's only media which can bring about social change. It's the media which can influence the thinking behavior of an individual. Please don't forget this, whether it's political communication or your decision making or whatever the case may be. Please don't forget the fact your food habits, your loss of your weight, your studies, your behavior, your dress code, whatever your thinking, and it's the media which can influence the thinking behavior of an individual. That is the capability of media. You are in a very powerful place, and you have to strengthen the democracy, and it's the responsibility of media to carry out the social responsibility theory, and let all of us join hands to build strong India in the coming days, because India belongs to you. India belongs to the younger generation. You should be very, very responsible. Please don't forget the social responsibility theory. Though it's a profession of profit and loss making, Indian youths are all very talented. You have excellent opportunities in the media, but at every point of time, don't forget the ethics, don't forget the social responsibility theory. If you adopt the social responsibility theory, definitely all of us, let us join hands to build strong India. And again, thank you very much for this opportunity. Namaste.
Thank you so much, sir, for that extremely insightful session. Your perspectives have truly enriched this discussion. It's clear that we have so much to learn and implement in our own lives and industry. Thank you once again, sir. I request everyone to please stay back. We have another session starting shortly. Everyone, before that,